Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some more issues related to loss of pets, pet hospice care, etc. So today I want to talk about near-death experiences. They've become such a common thing to discuss that people just simply call it an NDE, but it really is a profound experience, and so I like to not give it the shortened title of NDE and really refer to it as near-death experiences. And many of us have met or will meet people in our lives who can report a near-death experience, and there are many types of near-death experiences. There are the types where the person is literally dead on the operating table for minutes, even a long time, and then comes back. That person's experience is no different than the person who just has a head trauma and is knocked out for a little longer than would be okay. And all of the things that we know from near-death experience, survivors or experiencers really, is what they have told us is that so much of it overlaps. And there's all kinds of naysayers that say, oh, it's an electrical thing in the brain, blah, blah, blah. But so many people for so many years now have all reported the same experience of the white light and the sense of peacefulness and the sense of interconnectedness to all beings. And so this is somewhat of a comfort to those of us who have lost pets. All of us will lose pets because they just don't live as long as we do. And knowing that they are in a place that is peaceful and connected to us and all beings is actually a great deal of comfort. And one of the books, well, a couple of books I want to suggest to you in this area is a book by Larry Dossey. He's a doctor. It's called One Mind. And this book is really about the interconnection, the greater consciousness, why that greater consciousness matters. There's even a chapter in here with gathered experiences from people who have had near-death experiences and his commentary on it. And part of what this idea is in a near-death experience is that you go to an interconnected conscience, an interconnected consciousness of all beings. And so you are in that moment connected to everything that is on the earth and not on the earth all at the same time. And so when your animal leaves you, he is still deeply connected to you through this idea of this one consciousness that surrounds us. Many philosophers, physicians, writers, lots of people have described this idea of this greater consciousness that surrounds all of us. And, you know, no matter what your spiritual practice, this is an aspect of nearly every religion that there is. You know, you may refer to that greater consciousness as God or Allah or, you know, nature or the universe or the all that is. But it all gets back to the idea that we as humans believe that there is something bigger than us that's out there that we are part of when we're here and part of when we're not here. And Dossey's book really describes a lot about this in detail and how that greater consciousness, that one mind, that greater thing that is all of us together can be influenced by our thoughts and our intentions and our emotions, and that can have profound impacts on our lives. He describes that the separateness of our minds is an illusion, and that this non-local mind is kind of the idea of the soul, and that all of our souls are part of this one consciousness, including the souls of our animals. You know, that explains partially how when a person dies and we get like a premonition from them, like a friend of mine whose mother, who had passed 15 years before when she was a teen, had the idea that she needed to pull off the highway in Vermont one night, and when she did proceed on, there had been a huge car accident that she would have been involved in, but she had this premonition that her mother was telling her, don't go, just pull over. And it was very upsetting, so she took a while to pull her thoughts together and say, look, I'm just tired, it's been a long weekend, whatever, and continue on. But that idea that we are connected to that greater consciousness and that it was reaching out to her in that moment to keep her safe, that idea is still part of that story. So we have communication from the other side. Lots of us have experiences with our animals coming back to us in different ways. We might see a shadow of them trotting through the kitchen, or we might see a little bird pecking on the window, or in my case, I see crows and hawks flying around, big black birds, when I am in need of spiritual redirection. So we all have things, lost objects. Something that you lost. I have a necklace I lost. I bought it on 9/11 because it was a very traumatic time for me. And a couple of years later, it was probably the third anniversary, I bought this necklace that's black onyx with white crystals in a circle around it. And I said, oh, this is a perfect thing for me to buy today because it's the light shining out of the darkness. And boy, didn't I lose that necklace for years. I don't know where it went. And then when I was packing up my house to move to this house, it was in a wine glass on a cupboard with a bunch of other glasses in the bottom of the glass. And because it was black and upside down, it just blended in and I never noticed that it was there. And I'd probably taken it off one evening and put it there for safekeeping and just forgot about it. So things come back to you. So this idea of lost objects coming back to us still is getting back to that idea of the greater consciousness. There's something out there that's bringing those things to you when you need them and taking them from you when you don't need them. I have lost crystals, necklaces and things like that, and I've gone through a lot of inner turmoil having to let go of them and the sentimental things I have related to them and thinking someone really needed the power of that crystal and that's why they found it. But in fact, that crystal is returned to me sometimes 2 months later in some inexplicable way. And that, again, is part of the greater consciousness. When you come to that peace that that thing is gone and then it comes back to you, that is part of you letting go of your need for it and sharing it with whoever found it. And then they don't need it anymore and it does come back to you. So this idea that there's something bigger than us is in many little areas in our lives. And, we can really connect with our animals in this way when they're gone. All of us have had experiences with a lost pet and sensing that they are still with us. And what this idea of near-death experiences shows us is that, so many people have talked about going to the light and seeing loved ones there to greet them and not really wanting to come back because of the sense of peace on the other side and kind of being surprised when they are back. And often when animals or, people that have described this come back, it's for a specific reason. There's a person calling them. There is some duty, some unfinished business, something greater good that they need to do. Or some lesson they need to learn that pulls them back here. And it's usually something pretty clear and pretty dramatic from what people report. And of course, there's dozens of books on near-death experiences. But what this shows us about our animals is that they're in a good place when they go to the other side. Even the animals that we see that are, smashed in the road, they are in a good place. And of course, we can do our heart hugs and our thoughts for them to be peaceful and to bring compassion to their passing so that it's not terrible for them to have had that experience. We can bring peace around that by saying things. Some people like to use the Tibetan chant, Om Mani Padme Hum. And other people like me, I say, bless the spirit, keep it safe in its next life, protect those who use this body for food. And it takes some of the negative charge out of the drama of an unexpected death like that and gives that animal peace. And so even in that case, an animal that's been hit by a car in the road is going to that greater consciousness. They are becoming part of the all that is around us. All of the souls of all of the squirrels that are here and have been and will be is where that squirrel has gone. And so that's a really important thing to keep in mind, to bring you peace when you've lost an animal. Another book about near-death experiences is called Glimpses of Eternity by Greg Moody. And it's about people being near people when they're passing in hospice care and otherwise, and what they've told people about what their experience was with this near-death experience. And so there really is a kind of peace and a connection to the greater all that is in that moment of passing. And that does give us, I think, some solace when we have lost a pet, because they are part of a greater thing and they are really with us, but just in a way that is so hard for us. When we have this little furry being to spend your day with and talk to and be with, it is very different than just knowing, like I am with my horses, that they're out there, that they're with me, that when I see every horse I see and touch, that my horse is with me in that moment. And the same is true for us with dogs and cats, and sometimes it's not even a horse. When I see those ravens, I know that my horse Hawk is with me and that he is guiding me. And many people, like my friend with her mother, have grandmothers or grandfathers or fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters that guide them from the other side. So the other side is a viable thing that there are lots of reports about. So just because our pet is gone there doesn't mean that we need to despair that they are gone, because they aren't. Their consciousness, their soul, their essence is still alive and part of this one mind, as Larry Dossey puts it, that is all around us, and they are still with us. And I am so wanting to have people send me stories about their pets who have had this experience of the pet coming back to them. Because I really want to make a book of this and have it out for next year. So please, 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 if you know anyone who has ever mentioned that they've sensed that their pet has come back, or if that has happened to you, please write that down and send it to me. It doesn't have to be perfect. I would like to have people's stories pretty much in their own exact words, no matter what. I mean, I might have to do grammatical corrections, but if it's hard for you to write it, just do what you can and send me parts of it. We can work on it together. But I really, really think this is important information, because when you lose a pet, knowing that other people have gone through this sometimes is your only consolation. It's so hard with people at work not treating you, with the respect that you need for the grieving process, and, not knowing what to do in your day-to-day life to get by, because it's so different when you lose a pet than when you had your pet 2 days before. And so many of them need so much care when they're old that you are consumed with your time and your energy and love caring for them. And then suddenly that just stops. It just stops. Like the next day, they're not there anymore. And yes, you have a little bit of cleaning up and putting away, but it's such a different experience. And to know that others have gone through it and what has helped them and how their animals have come back to them, I think is really important information to share. So, what do you have to say, Tristan? Do Winnie and Comet Corgi come and tell you things? I think they do. Every once in a while, he'll go over to some of the toys from Comet in his toy basket, and he will pull one out and carry it around the living room. It's the funniest thing. And Winston, who was way before Tristan's time, I really feel like Tristan has a lot of Winston in him. And he occasionally will get one of Winnie's toys, but more often he does things that Winston used to do. You miss your dog every day. I can't read the rest of what you said before that, Angel, but I will answer you. So yeah, I mean, we do have connections with our prior pets through the ones that we have, even if our past pet was a dog and now we have a hamster. I mean, they really do find ways to stay with us that we can feel. So thanks for joining us today for this episode of Conversations with a Corgi. We were a little early for the weekend because I have to go see a horse, and I don't want to be too late getting to him. And we will be back tomorrow for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. I think we're going to look at maybe 4 or 5 different modalities and their importance in hospice care or end of life kinds of care for your pet. And then we'll move on to something more happy. Although I think in a way these are happy, because you need to be prepared for what's going to happen. I mean, your pet has given you his life and his time and his love as you have to him. And his passing is part of that. And being aware of that and what you can do and knowing about that really affects all of us, I think. You have a nice day too, Angel. It's sunny here. My friend's going to try to help me cut up and move yet another dead tree in my yard. You have a good day too, Danny. I know it's cold in South Dakota. Tristan, what do you have to say? He's excited. He likes to help Uncle Mark chop up trees. Although he'll be confined to the yard. He won't be able to get too close to the flying wood chips and things. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day. Love the pets that you're with, and we'll see you tomorrow.